All right. 5 games in, we're almost at the halfway mark. We got to do a pulse check on Michigan. Is this a 7 win season? Is this a 9 to 10 win season? Man, a lot to unpack here. They have 4 wins right now. They're 4-1 with their only loss to Texas, in which they got absolutely blown out in. Now they head all the way across the country to Washington, to which they are 2.5 point dogs. Dogs to Washington after Washington just lost all 22 starters. I mean, this is crazy as a rematch to a national championship game from last year between these two teams. Both of them look very different. I mean, particularly Washington. Crazy to know what all they have lost, and they are still favored to beat Michigan. Crazy, crazy, crazy. So where is this going? Like, looking into this now after we have 5 weeks of data, Michigan's schedule suddenly looks a little bit more difficult than maybe it did in the preseason, with Illinois being ranked 4-1. They've looked really solid. Obviously, we knew Oregon was going to be solid, but you have Indiana, who's been pretty good. They're undefeated. They're 5-0 and then showing some pulse in the Big Ten. And obviously, then you got Ohio State. So they have all the 1, 2, 3, 4. They have 4 ranked matchups left out of their 7 games. So this is not going to be any slouch of a stretch that they got left. And then Washington, they really should have won that game against Rutgers. A lot of missed field goals and miscues there, but I think they're coming along, and Will Rogers has shown that he's capable of moving the ball downfield recently. So Michigan has a tough road ahead of them, man. I think the end of their schedule looks a little more harder than I thought it would be. Their over/under win total to start the year was 9 wins. They're at 4 and need to get 5 out of the 7 left. Man, I don't know if they're going to do it. I'm going to just tack on an automatic loss to Ohio State. I know that sounds insane to say since they've beaten Ohio State the past 3 years, but I mean, that looks like a loss unless you got some crazy injuries for Ohio State. And who knows what we'll see with Oregon. I think they're still kind of a mystery team in my opinion, but at least you get Oregon at home. So you got a lot of games here that are going to be difficult. So how do we feel about Michigan now that they have identified Alex Orji as the main quarterback and they have put an identity to the offense with that? Now, that identity, I think, will work against some teams, some inferior teams, especially who are inferior up front against Michigan's front offensive line. But that is it. There's no passing game. They can't move the ball downfield. Alex Orji can't pass the ball downfield. So it's a very one-dimensional offense. So I think defenses will start to cue on that and really just throw 8 men, 9 men in the box and just beg you to beat them through the pass game. And I think Alex Orji will be able to get some time to throw the ball. I think this offensive line will give him time to do that because of how they're solid up front. But can they complete the passes, and can the receivers get separation from the secondary? I'm not convinced about that. So when we break this down here, I think like 9 wins is where they were at. That's probably, I took them to go over. I think they might go under here. Like they're dogs against Washington. I do think that they will win this game, but I'm not convinced that they'll beat Illinois. I'm not convinced that they'll beat Oregon. Michigan State, obviously a rival. I think they'll probably end up at 9, but man, what a season we got for Michigan so far, and I think there's a lot that Sharon Moore will have to work on, and hopefully Dave Portnoy will come up with the bag to get them that quarterback for next year. Follow Big Body Ball CFB on all socials.